All right, y'all. Look, this. Check this shit out.
Echo of that chilling scream haunting viewers long after the video ends.
You going in there?
People be talking about, man, is true, man.
A bizarre and chilling story has been making the rounds on social media in recent weeks after Reddit user ExpertDesk7492 shared an eerie video detailing an alleged encounter with something not quite human. The footage, originally uploaded to TikTok, features a man recounting a first-hand experience that has left many questioning what they believe about the world around them.
This is crazy.
The narrator and his neighbor had been working outside their homes, applying Snake Stopper, a common pest deterrent. After accidentally getting some on themselves, they decided to head back to the store to buy more.
Look, we have some. I think it's on my porch. Let me look and see. No, it's not. That's something else. You know what? It's cinnamon. It's fucking cinnamon.
Supplies.
Accidentally got some of this shit on us. So he's like, man, hey, pretty boy, you ain't got time to go back in the house to take a shower. We gotta go back and get...
The narrator's neighbor whispered that something felt off about the man. Then after another violent sneeze, something terrifying happened. The cashier saw it too, reacting with visible shock before rushing away.
She's right.
The man, now aware that he had been seen, followed them outside and begged them to keep quiet, insisting that he was just trying to live here like everyone else.
I'm just like y'all, man. I'm just trying to live here. I'm just trying to make a living like you, and I'm like...
As the two drove away in disbelief, the narrator's neighbor had a disturbing realization. He thought he had seen the man before, possibly working at the courthouse.
What?
The idea of a potential reptilian, or something inhuman, holding an official position sent shivers down their spines.
My neighbor got in the car, was like, yo, I done seen this guy somewhere before. I think he worked at the courthouse.
The narrator then reflected on a scene from Men in Black, where a character explains that many non-human beings live among us, just trying to make a living. Was this life imitating fiction? Or had Hollywood, as some conspiracy theorists believe, been dropping subtle hints all along? One of the most intriguing aspects of the story is whether the Snake Stopper triggered the transformation. Could the chemicals in the product have disrupted whatever disguise the entity was using, briefly revealing his true form?
So I'm assuming that Snake Stopper or whatever...
We're gonna look. Snake Stopper, cedar or cinnamon oil. These oils are known to deter snakes due to their strong scent and taste. I'm just saying.
Thanks.
I want to do some more looking at the knot deer. The knot deer. Let's see what that thing is. Oh, that's the knot deer right there. Is that it? Let's see what it says about it. You want to get your products. You want to see what the knot deer is. Do some research on the knot deer by looking at other research done on it.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. Miller, and the SCP we're going to be looking at today is SCP-6448. Containment class Keter. Disruption class Kennick. And risk class Warning.
What the fuck does that mean?
Special containment procedures. Containment of SCP-6448 should be focused on investigation of deer exhibiting anomalous traits within and around the Appalachian area. All civilian sightings of SCP-6448 should be attended to by Mobile Task Force Gamma 4, Green Stacks. Possible deaths resulting from SCP-6448 should be attributed to hiking accidents, and sightings are to be blamed upon chronic wasting disease. The Site-44 Cryptozoology Division is tasked with ongoing research into the knot deer phenomenon. Should an SCP-6448 instance be captured, it is to be brought to Site-44 for containment and study.
Okay.
Description.
Rather than get in trouble by having that bullshit on there, I guess it's nice to know that it exists. Let's see about this. What we got here?
The knot deer, a mysterious urban legend, originates from the eastern region of North America, but sightings have been reported across the entire continent. The knot deer appears to be a normal deer, but there's something off about it. Maybe its eyes or head, but something about the creature is not right. Regrettably, there are limited reliable written records documenting the knot deer. a common characteristic of folklore, where stories are typically transmitted orally rather than being recorded in writing.
Let's see what else we got. Ghostly analysis. I'll try this guy. Let's see what this do. I just want to know.
Baffling questions, astounding questions. That not even the world's greatest scientific minds can answer.
Something that's fiercer, more cruel and deadly than anything I've ever
Even science was stunned. Back to the animalistic. A monster that lies within each of us. For a few coins, I shall hypnotize you.
No, you won't.
I think I saw a not deer. I was driving home after Christmas, and my family lives about an hour and a half away from my home. I didn't want to spend the night because that's not that far of a drive, right? It was only 11:30 when I left. In between their house and mine is just desert. Canyons, bushes, deer, mountain lions, etc. Absolutely no cell phone service. Or even FM. Anyways, I was just jamming the music, and it was so dark around me. I can only see what my headlights light up, as there was no moon out that night. On the side of the road, I see the biggest deer I've ever seen in my life. But then, my music cuts off, and it's just static. I locked eyes with this deer. It had humanoid-looking eyes, and its whole facial structure looked uncanny. I couldn't break my eye contact. My head had craned behind me so much before it disappeared in the darkness. As soon as I couldn't see it anymore, my radio turned back on. What do you guys think? Are my eyes playing tricks on me in the middle of the night? And perhaps a coincidence that my music turned off? Please tell me if I'm crazy or not, because I will never drive home from my parents after dark, ever again.
You're crazy.
The not deer. Not deer. Not man. Not animal. But is it a threat? The internet's concept of this Appalachian mimic is staggeringly different in each encounter. Sometimes it walks like a human. Sometimes it has human features. Sometimes it speaks. Whether or not it is a violent entity depends on how it perceives you. Would you attack it upon seeing one? Or would you rather simply bask in its uncanny existence before it stomps off back into the great unknown? Whether you believe there's a mimic that lurks in the Appalachia, and whether you think you can survive an encounter with one, is based solely on you. Tonight, we will be diving into what was once the internet's favorite cryptid. Without giving away too much, I grew up in the area where Kentucky and Virginia border each other. I'm talking deep Appalachian. No stoplights in the country or chain stores. Sometimes it's hard to explain how old and different the Appalachian Mountains really are. Still yet, there are plenty of old superstitions and folktales, going back generations, having to do with those hills and mountains. Most of it is just that. Superstitions and folktales. I personally have been very creeped out in the woods a few times, because you know something isn't right, and the forest has ways of letting you know. I never actually saw anything, but I have heard several things and had my hair stand on end a few times, which was enough to get me out of where I was. The not deer is a creature that resides within the depths of the Appalachian Mountains, primarily spotted in western Northern Carolina and West Virginia. If you witness it, your mind will ease itself under the illusion that it is simply a white-tailed deer. However, depending on the distance between you and the not deer, a closer inspection will shatter this concept, as you begin to notice its disjointed legs, enlarged spine, and its eyes. If you decide to watch, the nadir will perform strange, if not disturbing, movements. A part of you will pity it, its legs snapping in and out of socket. Your brain attempts to decipher that what you're looking at is simply an injured doe, needing to be put out of its misery. Your existence alone bothers it none, likely due to you being a safe distance from it. But there is a sign of intelligence in its eyes. Finally, your brain clicks it together. You are in the presence of a predator. It is not luring you into a trap, but from the red-soaked fur on its mouth and limbs, you know many have gotten too close. You are not in the presence of a Wendigo nor a skinwalker. No, you've met the not deer, and it is just that, not deer. Anyone who spends a decent amount of time in Appalachia knows the not deer. If you've gone on the Blue Ridge Parkway at night, you've probably seen them. Now, keep in mind if you don't live in an area with a lot of deer, deer are freaky bastards on their own. They're really big, extremely agile, move surprisingly quietly, and are extremely durable. It's not unheard of for someone to hit a deer and total their car. Once I heard a story of a man who hit a deer by accident and decided to take it home and at least get some good meat out of a bad situation. On the drive home, the deer woke up and absolutely shredded the inside of this man's trunk. They're very cute, but you definitely don't want to mess with one. Just keep that relationship in the back of your mind. Anyway, the not deer is more or less what I would call a folk cryptid. Everybody has their story about it, and they're all somewhat similar. You're in a car at night, in a rural, heavily wooded area, and probably a bit lost. It's not wildly uncommon to see a possum crossing the road, to see blips of little animals with your headlights. You see a deer. So you and your friends go, oh, deer, and slow down in case it leaps in front of you. Then you see it more clearly. There's just something wrong about it. There's something about its eyes. You feel your stomach get heavy like a rock. The hair on your neck raises. You sense intelligence that you shouldn't. It doesn't move like a deer. It moves like... Oh, God, what is that thing? Whatever that thing is, it is not a deer, and you need to leave. So you hit the gas, and you get the hell out of there. Two other users would share their experiences under this post, as it began to make rounds across the now barren website. I have a story about the not deer from 2 summers ago. I lived deep in the Appalachian Mountains at the time, unlike the foothills I'm in now. I was wandering in the woods, probably 2/3 of a mile from my house at this point, as one does when they live 2 miles down a twisting dirt road, with the nearest town 30 minutes away. When I heard brush moving, I knew it was probably a harmless animal, a possum or a deer, maybe a particularly destructive rabbit. So I turned to look. Well, it was a deer, in the way that a graveyard is a playground. You can treat it as such, I guess, but it won't feel the same. It was about 30 feet away from me, staring. Wild deer don't stare at random people to begin with, they just run away. She was breathing hard and making a low rumbling sound, and I didn't really know what to do. I hadn't really thought about the dangers of going near wild animals, even if they are quote-unquote harmless deer. So I went towards her. I swear to God, this thing's eyes blanked out, and it took a couple jerking steps forward, moving really strangely. And I flinched because, what the hell? And then she ran off to the side while staring at me until she was about 50 feet away. It was deeply unsettling in a way that I can't explain. And I know that thing was not quite a deer, and I sprinted all the way home. I've seen something like this myself. I would say the joints went the wrong way, but it was more that there might have been more or less joints than you would expect. The bends were not where the bends go, if you know what I mean. And the shape of the face was wrong in a way I would describe as, let's say you have a friend who only draws wolves. They're really good at wolves. So you want them to draw a deer.
They try their
best,
and neither
of you are exactly pleased with the results.
There was also
an issue of scale.
Like,
You gave a deer the proportions of a moose.
I
I
collect
collect spooky stories from other people, and a friend once told me about driving back from a ghost hunt out in Oklahoma,
seeing
what they described as like a deer that stood in the middle of the road,
and it
and it refused to move.
So when
So when one of them got out to go shoo it away,
they all
they all realized about the same time that
it was
only
almost
a deer.
They
They
described
described the collective reaction as wildly disproportionate to what they remember having seen,
which
was just
not
not
quite a deer.
quite a deer.
They said
They said there was about 15 minutes of foot-to-floor speeding before they all, right about the same time, felt a change in mood come over them,
and
and they began to sob.
It was
It was only weeks later that they were all like,
you know,
deer
deer
don't look anything like that.
One's first
thought would be to write this off as chronic wasting disease, or zombie deer disease,
an
an infectious agent that spreads from one host to the next through bodily fluids.
They will
They will possibly chalk it up to being a case of brain abscess as an explanation for the strange behaviors. Some would theorize that these are bizarre cases of rabies, sharing the same fearless capability. Yet, time and time again,
those who
experience a not deer will continue to debunk this.
the
The issue is not just strange behavior and erratic movements.
The
The
issue
issue
is that
it was not a deer.
A user
A user posted on the subreddit r/Appalachia of what appears to be a mysterious journal entry. The comments were able to translate the journal,
which
which states the following.
The
The not deer,
moose-like
moose-like bodily proportions, speeds of 30 miles per hour, maybe more, sometimes described as abnormally large.
Many
Many sightings in Virginia. Feels predatory, diet unknown, inhabits Appalachian forests.
The
The above creature is a deer, at least at first glance, right?
But there is
clearly something wrong about it. Almost everything about this thing is wrong.
But a deer
But a deer is the only thing that comes to mind when one tries to describe it. The not deer is a bit of urban Americana from the Appalachian region.
Many people
have had incidents where they find themselves many times alone in the wilderness or driving home and cross paths with a deer, or at least what looks like a deer from a distance.
Upon
Closer inspection, people have found that the proportions are simply off.
Several
first-hand descriptions have included there being more or less joint than there should have been, with proportions of a moose being wildly disproportionate and having forward-facing predator eyes.
One
One witness described the experience as being deeply unsettling.
All
All reports have noted that this creature just feels off, or that a sort of sentience is detectable.
In a
couple of different cases, some forms of not deer were said to have only 2 hind legs.
In
In one of these cases, it had arms with hands in place of 4 legs. In one of these cases, it had arms with hands in place of 4 legs. Chronic wasting disease, or CWD, is often brought up as an explanation to these kinds of occurrences. CWD causes the severe deterioration of a deer's mind and body and can result in inexplicable behavior and ultimately death.
Those who
have both seen deer with this condition and not deer are adamant that these are 2 completely different things.
But the
But the not deer isn't just one generated from internet whispers.
There
are historical records of people coming across something described as not exactly a deer.
Jerome
Clark, once an editor for Fate magazine, came across 2 written experiences from citizens across the country.
A
A Mrs. Loeb from Oklahoma had reported to have seen a creature in her farm.
It
It
resembled
resembled a deer that stood on 4 thin legs, but had huge pads for feet.
Along with
that,
the
the
specimen
specimen also had long hair,
pointed
ears,
and
and a bushy tail.
It
It resembled a cross between a wolf
and a deer.
and a deer.
This
This experience took place in 1951.
The other
The other experience wasn't until 2 decades later,
when
when Jerome Clark's own father had described an exotic animal he had once come across.
While
While hunting off in a field in Minnesota,
His father
was fixed on a small-sized deer,
but the
but the tail
was one
of a horse.
He fired
at it in hopes to scare it off, possibly to see how long the tail truly was as it ran.
But when
When
fired
fired at,
the deer
the deer simply didn't react,
as if
completely unfrightened.
Is it a
Is it a strange coincidence that the only two historic recordings that Jerome Clark could find contained one by his own dad?
Nay.